past 2 years, it's been on kind of this temporarily hold until this past winter. And the reason for that was after I moved out to Utah from Colorado, I decided to pursue my college degree, and I graduated from the University of Utah recently with a degree in health promotion education with an emphasis on diabetes. So diabetes has definitely given me direction in my life, and it's helped me realize the importance also of having health insurance after that fiasco I went through in California. But another reason why I made sure to start up these camps this past winter was a great friend of mine, Jesse Alswager. His mother, Michelle Page Alswager, has done a lot in the diabetes community, and Jesse was a well-known child advocate for the disease. He was one of my main reasons of why I spearheaded camps in the Midwest, and it was to be able to provide a camp for him and his friends. And unfortunately, Jesse passed away about a year ago from complications from his diabetes at the age of 13. So all of the camps this year, we've done one in Utah this year, and as well as in Wisconsin, have one coming up in Colorado in a month, as well as Oregon in June, are all dedicated to my best friend Jesse, who I also consider my little brother. One thing I've learned about diabetes, and this may sound weird to a lot of you, but allow me to explain it, is one way I've learned how to cope with it is to treat it as it's my best friend. Now, why would I want to treat a disease like this? Hello? Treat a disease like this as my best friend, especially one that took one of my best friends from me? Well, like any best friend that you have, you're going to get in the occasional argument. And if I choose to no longer be friends with my diabetes, then it's not going to allow me to do the things I love to do. And until a cure is found, we know that diabetes will always be with us. Whether that's type 1 or type 2, we know that we're going to be living with it until a cure is found. So as long as I treat my diabetes as a best friend, I know I'm going to get in the occasional argument. I could do everything right one day and then have my blood sugars go completely chaotic the next day. And I did everything right. But that's just one of the hardships of maybe having this best friend. And if I know to learn how to work with my friend, my diabetes, then I can live to do what I want to do. And that's what I've been doing. Now, going on that, and I know I spoke about in that video about training for the Winter Olympics. That's been my passion. And that was the reason I was living up in Canada and in the US, training with the various national teams. I'll get back to that in a second. But I've always had a dream of being able to go and snowboard in some of the world's most remote mountain ranges. One of these such places is Antarctica. Most people, when they hear of Antarctica, they think of a completely flat, barren, hostile environment. That's partially true, except on the peninsula, which is where I wanted to go snowboard, has mountain ranges that go from sea level to over 9,000 feet. And I had this dream of mine before I was diabetic. And now I was presented the opportunity to go with a group of friends, a group of some of the world's best ski and snowboard mountaineers on this expedition to Antarctica, but I had diabetes. So here I was presented this opportunity where I had this dream of mine before I was diabetic, and now I had this chance to accomplish it with diabetes. And I knew that this was something that I could do. Like I said, I did not want to let my diabetes restrict me. And so it took a lot of time. It took about a year went into hardcore training. Just looking at, I would drag around a tire around the neighborhood to practice pulling a sled with gear. And I would be checking my blood sugars, figuring out ways to keep my insulin extremely warm, should it freeze. Especially because in an environment like Antarctica, I would be days away from help. And also, my other teammates would have to rely on me as well. So, long story short, I was able to pull off this expedition successfully. And since then, I've been down to Antarctica twice on 2 separate expeditions. If any of you are familiar with Warren Miller films, you may have saw the recent film this past winter, and that had some footage from our expedition to Antarctica. And in addition to that I now seek out the world's most remote mountain ranges to go and test my diabetes knowing that I can take care of myself in these environments. And I always try to have a diabetes angle with each expedition, such as when I went down to Antarctica, it was during National Diabetes Month and International Diabetes Day. So I sent back live satellite broadcasts to children's hospitals, schools, and foundations about managing a chronic disease in that sort of hostile environment. And in a couple weeks, I'll be leaving for another expedition to the subpolar West Fjordlands of Iceland. And following that expedition, I'll be going to Eastern Greenland. So I wanted to say, I guess with that was, this was a dream of mine before I was diabetic, and I've been able to accomplish it with my diabetes. Now going towards the Olympics, I haven't completely ruled that out. A lot of people are always asking me, so are you still training for the Olympics? All I can say is right now I've been having a lot more fun going and seeing penguins than standing in a start gate. So I'm going to continue doing this, and the Olympics is still on my mind, but for right now I'm just allowing my board to do all that work and take me to whatever direction it wants to go. So thank you for allowing me to share my story, and at this time, if anyone has any questions, feel free to let me know, and